Boker Tov, today's daf is daf Gimel in Gitin. As we learned for four Shlema for Elazar ben Ruma and Yosef Zriel ben Chaim Michal. We got yesterday down to about the seventh line down on Gimel ben Aleph. We had a machlokes yesterday between Rabbah and Rava. What's the reason why the rabbi said that you must, that a shliach who comes from overseas or from Israel to overseas, comes from overseas to Israel or Israel to overseas, simple language, must say, b'fanei nechtam, b'fanei nechtam. We must say that it was written in front of me and it was signed in front of me. Rabbah said the reason is because we're concerned that in Chutz La'aretz, it's not written Lishma. Really, let's talk about the case of Chutz La'aretz to Eretz Yisrael, because he said from Eretz Yisrael to Chutz La'aretz, according to Rabbah, you wouldn't have to, because in Eretz Yisrael, they're Bakir Lishma. They know that it has to be written Lishma and signed Lishma. Okay, so you have to say b'fanei nechtam, b'fanei nechtam. Is one person good enough? That's what we discussed yesterday. Normally you need to wait him. But don't forget, the main part of a get is you have to write the get lishma, you have to sign it lishma. Let's assume that in general you have to write it and sign it lishma, and give it in front of two edim. Give it in front of two edim to the woman or to her shliach, or the husband's shliach gives it to her shliach. But that's a shliach laholacha that the husband sends, a shliach lekabal that she sends. That's the main part of the get that has to be in front. Rabbi said also, if you come from overseas, you should say b'fanei nechtam, b'fanei nechtam. According to Rabbi, that's why. Because in Chutz La'aretz they're not bekin lishma, and when he says b'fanei nechtam, okay, they'll start asking him. They'll start asking the shliach, well, was it written lishma, etc. That will get into a discussion. Shliach said b'fanei nechtam, and maybe we ask him, are you sure it was written lishma, etc., etc. That was the rabbi's decree because of lishma. According to Rava, the reason why the rabbi said b'fanei nechtam is because there's no Edom here. What do you mean? There's Edom are signed on the star, but the Edom aren't around. They're in New York. You're in Israel. If the husband contests it now, you're not going to have any Edom, right? So what do? Okay, well, if this guy said b'fanei nechtam, the rabbi said one guy is good enough. But believe this one guy like two. You're not going to be able to find Edom to confirm their signatures because they're in New York and you're in Israel. That's what you'll be able to do. However, why is one good enough? So the Gemara asked that according to Rabbah. Why is one good enough? There's a marriage issue. It should be two. You know, we've always said that whether it's gitin or kedushin, it has to be given in front of two people. That's why you have at the wedding, you have two people who are the two Edom, and at the get, you have to have two people. Without that, it's not valid. You can't give it just beino lebein atzmo. So the Gemara said, okay, yeah, well, it's a kanaj rabbanan about the b'fanei nechtam because most people write it lishma anyway. Most people are bekin lishma, and certainly the scribes are know that it has to be lishma. And so the rabbi, but it was a special kind of the rabbi said anyway. The rabbanan required it, but over here because of iguna, we're not going to say that it's not you're not going to always have two shliachim. Maybe you only have one shliach. So because of iguna, the rabbis were mekel. That's what we said according to Rabbah. Now the Gemara is going to ask going to Rabbah. And the seventh line of the Gemara, what about according to Rabbah? Why? If the reason is because of you're not going to have Edom around, why is one shliach good enough? Gemara will have a similar answer here. At the end of yesterday's daf, Moshe asked, well, is this shliach who brings the get, can he be one of the Edom? And I answered incorrectly because I'm talking about if a man himself comes and he gives his wife a get, can he be an aid? No. Can she be an aid? Well, she's not a kosher aid anyway. Of course, he can't be an aid. That's what I mean. A person, the Baal Din himself can't be an aid. But let's say a shliach, a man appoints a shliach to give a get to his wife, right? And when he gets when he gives her the get, she's there. There's an aid there. Can the shliach himself become an aid? Yes. It's a shayla in Gemara and Kedushin. At the Gemara, we pass it over there that a shliach could become an aid. So I answered incorrectly yesterday. A shliach could become an aid, and that's going to be part of the discussion we're going to talk about later on when he gives it. We mentioned it yesterday, but we're going to say it again now. A machlok is between Rabbi Yochanan and who is the machlok? Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Chanina. When he gives it, does he give it in front of two or in front of three? Why? What's the purpose there? If the reason why you should sometimes give in front of three is because if they question the signatures, you need like a bezin of three. So can the shliach can become an aid? Can the aid become a dayan? That's going to be a discussion we're going to have. But anyway, let's start from the seventh line. The Rava says that the reason why the rabbi said that if a shliach comes with a get, he has to say b'fanei nechtam, b'fanei nechtam. Why? Because since Edom aren't around, they're in New York and you're in Israel. So we'll believe this guy like two. So the boy trace, you should need two. You need two people to confirm signatures. Just like anyone, whenever there's a question whether the star, whether a particular document, an IOU or a bill of sale, whether it's valid or not, and somebody contests it. So you need two people, either the Adam themselves who are signed on it to come and say, yes, these are valid signatures, this transaction took place, or two other people who recognize their signatures. So Gemara says the same answer we gave yesterday on Rabbah, Eidach and Misurin. One aid is good enough when it comes to Yisurin. This is a question of Issa. So Gemara says, when you can say one person is believed, like a woman who's telling us she's a neither or not, or the shochet saying he shechted it properly or not, right? We always rely, you go to somebody's house, you rely that the woman kept the house kosher. Remember, right? You rely on one person. You don't have two people cooking everything. So when do you say when one person is believed, you have a piece of meat, is it kosher or not? Those chazik isur, there's no presumption here of isur. You don't know, so you believe one person. But here you know this woman is a married woman. Reuben's married to Leah. The question is now, did he give her a divorce? We have this divorce document, but Reuben's saying, I never wrote it. The whole thing's forged, right? This davar shebev made davar shebev pachas mishnayim, like we learn now, davar mi mama, right? Pasuk says by getting kimatza by ervastaver, he divorced her because he found something wrong with her. Kimatza by ervastaver, and it's all pishnayim made him yakum davar. So you learn out just like pishnayim made him, has to be two adam. So over here, why is one person good enough? So Gemara's answer is like this: B'dinhu. We're about the 12th line down on the page. It became late. The truth is, in general, when it comes to confirming shtaros, you also need two people. You don't assume you have a shtar in front of you. Do you assume it's forged? You don't assume it's forged. In some case, most people don't have the audacity to forge a document. You have a document in front of you, you go bust a robe, mostly it's okay. Rabbanan said, let's be extra careful over here. And let's make sure that there are, in case it's contested, that we're able to confirm it. So really, they said you should confirm it, and you should have maybe two people saying b'fanei nechem, because we don't want her to be an iguna. Why? Because the husband thinks he divorced her, and he's gone, he's out of the picture, and she can't get really married because the get's been contested. So the Gemara is the same question we asked yesterday at the top of the page on Rabbah. Hi, Kula, why do you think it's a Kula Chumru? It's a Chumru by saying that one person is good enough. One shliach is good enough to say Fanei Nachem. Why? If you say you need two people to say Fanei Nachem, the husband cannot come and contest it because he's got two witnesses here. Two people came and said that it was valid. The Fanei Nachem, it's a kosher get. The husband cannot come and invalidate the get because he got two people against him. But if you only have one person saying the husband will come and contest it and say it's invalid. The get is invalid. So therefore, it's really it's a chumrah by saying one person is good enough because you're going to make it more complicated. There's kibbutz amar since we have a cloud. This is what I referred to before. It's more in Daf Hayomi base. We're going to see in front of how many persons. Remember, we said when we come out. There's a famous machlokas we're going to have between Rav Meir and Rav Lazar. Do you say Eideh Chasim Makarti? Is it the Eidim were signed on it, which is Korish, which makes them divorced, or is it the Eidim Asira? We hold like Rav Lazar, but since we're going to say later on, how many in front of how many people when you give it to her? Do you give it in front of how many? In front of two or three? Kamenosna. Machlokas there. One says you get in front of two people. One says you get in front of three. So since you're going to give it in front of these people, you don't want to be made a fool out of. You give it in front of these people, and it turns out it was forged. Mi'ikar made it die. The individual shliach will be careful when he says b'fanei nechem. Again, because of iguna, the rabbis were makel. You're saying it's a chumrah because if you have two people, it's not going to be. It can't be contested. If you have one, it can be contested. But since he has to give it in front of two or three people, he's going to be careful. She's not going to be made a fool out of, and he's going to be careful, and therefore it's good enough. So we have over here. Back to our issue. You bring a get from overseas. Again, if you're not coming from overseas, in a regular case, if a get where they go to the bezdin and the husband gives his wife a get, you give it in front of two witnesses or in front of a bezdin, preferably. That's all you need. That's it. You don't need a shliach. You don't need b'fanei nechem. It's obvious. It was written right here, and it's all kosher. The Edom are right here. The Edom are signed on it. The Edom sign on the get, and they're here. And you give it in front of Adam. It doesn't have to be the same Adam, it could be other Adam, and that's good enough. But when you come from overseas, the rabbi said you should say b'fanei nechem. Why? According to Rabbah, because they're not They were not well versed. They don't know that it has to be written lishma, etc., and all the other rules. And therefore, the one person who comes and says b'fanei nachtam will be interrogated, and that will make sure that it was written kosher. According to Rava, it's because since Edom aren't here, since you're coming from overseas, they're over there, you're over here. If it's contested, you won't have Edom. So therefore, the rabbi said, have this guy. If this guy says b'fanei nachtam, that's good enough. Again, Minat Torah, you don't need that. Minat Torah, you assume it's okay. It gets here. She's divorced. Yeah. Okay, you don't have to, because then if you make that rule, people will say that if you didn't say b'fanei nechtam, it's not kosher. You don't want to add extra rules for nothing. Only in that case, right? You don't want to make extra rules. Now the Gemara, so we have this machlokes Rab and Rava, right? Rab and Rava. And as we said before, a shliach who comes could be an aide, as long as he's not the balvin. He's not the husband. We'll see soon. This person who brings the get and says b'fanei could even be a woman, not a kosher aide. In that case, the shliach cannot be an aide. An aide has to be a man, a kosher man, a man who's observant. So, but the person who brings the get could be a shliach, it could be a woman, and she would also say b'fanei nechtam. In fact, we'll see, it could even be the woman herself. But obviously, she couldn't be an aide. Now, so now the Gemara is going to say, okay, we have this machlokes Rava and Rava, and we're going to deal with that for the next few days. First question is, why didn't each one say like the other? The Gemara says right away, for Rava, my time alone, Rava. Why didn't Rava give Rava's reason? The reason I have to say b'fanei nechtam is because to make sure that it was written lishma. It doesn't say lishma. If the reason is you got to confirm that it was lishma, you should have said b'fanei nichtav lishma, b'fanei nechtam lishma. It doesn't say lishma. So the reason must be not because of the question is it lishma, but rather because there's no Edom. The Edom won't be around to confirm it. So how will Rabba answer that point? Rabba would say, you really should say b'fanei lishma. If you tell them too many things to say, he'll cut it off. When you give somebody a long speech, they might not say the whole thing. Make sure you say this when you do this. And you don't say too many words, you might cut it off. So you might say, if you say b'fanei lishma, you might cut it off and you might not say the whole thing. So hashtanami also makes when you say b'fanei nechtam, you might b'fanei nichtav, but b'fanei nechtam, you might also cut it off. It's chada mitlas goaz. If you have 3 words, you might cut off one of them. You might say that the chada mitarti la goaz. You only have 2 words to say b'fanei nichtav and b'fanei nechtam on 2 separate issues, as we'll see. It has to be written lishma and signed lishma. You won't cut. They're 2 separate phrases, b'fanei nichtav and b'fanei nechtam. That you probably won't cut off. But we're afraid that if you make him do 3, he'll cut it off. Tavis could go b'fanei nechtav lishma. A guy is zin lo omer ela b'fanei nechtav. So if you make a rule and he has to say b'fanei nechtav lishma and he only says b'fanei nechtav, you'll say, well, it's not valid. So therefore, we didn't want to make him go too far. That's why I didn't say lishma. So Rabba my time lo Rabba. So we just said why Rabba doesn't say like Rabba, because Rabba doesn't like Rabba, because if it would be because of Lishma, he should have said Lishma. Rabba answered, well, that's too many words. Rabba might come, why didn't Rabba say because of Rabba's reasoning? That the reason is because Eidim Mitzim Lakaimo, and you need Eidim to confirm it. And if they're not around, at least you have this one guy. Just say if the reason is to confirm the signatures, right? What does it mean? We want to confirm, since the Edom aren't around to confirm the signatures, we need this guy, so to speak, to confirm the signatures. Well, just say b'fanei nechtam. What do you b'sula b'fanei nechtav lamali? What do you need nechtav for? Shema mina. You see the din and lishma. The reason is because there has to be written lishma. If the reason is only to confirm signatures, so just say b'fanei nechtam. It was written, it was signed in front of me. I saw these 2 guys sign it. It wasn't forged. These 2 guys actually signed it. So why do you say b'fanei nechtav? Elamai, it must be that we're talking about lishma. We're not talking necessarily about Edom Simakaimo. How will Rava answer that point? For Rava will say bedin or less nehachi. Really could have just said b'fanei nechtam. Eldim kain asif lifu b'kim shtas ne'alma. If you all say b'fanei nechtam, there's no difference between this get and confirming some other document, a bill of sale or an IOU. People will also say, oh, b'fanei nechtam, that's all you have to do. Eldim kain asif lifu b'kim shtas ne'alma be'ed echad. Normally, kim shtas is with 2. If there's a question, if you have an IOU or a purchase document, a shtar mecher, and it's contested, you need the 2 Edom to come who signed on it and confirm, or 2 other people. So over here, if you just say b'fanei nechtam, people say, oh, it's good enough to have one person say b'fanei nechtam, one person, like in the case of gitin. Same thing will be by IOUs and other documents. So you'll mix them up. Therefore, we add on b'fanei nichtav to show that it's only by gitin that one person is good enough. Again, But Rabba will say, how can you confirm gitin with other shtaros? Midami, how can you compare? Hasam yadinam. There, when in a regular shtar, an IOU or a bill of sale, and it's contested, and you want to confirm it, the signatories themselves come and say this is ours, or other people say we know the signatures. All they say is yadin, yeah, we recognize those signatures. You use the words befonai nichtam, so you're not going to confuse them. If the reason is really because of confirming, you should say befonai nechtam, not befonai nechtam. You say it's because otherwise people will think by regular stars also you can confirm with one person like we're getting. It's a different lashon. There you just say yadinan hacha befanai hasam ishol mehemna. Normally for confirmation of signatures, a woman's not believed. Hacha isha mehemna. But over here, a woman is believed because over here this is just an additional precaution. Really, you don't really need it. If the shliach comes and brings the get and says on behalf of the husband, haret mugureshes with this document, she's divorced. You don't need that. The rabbis added on as an extra precaution, and even a woman is believed. So how can you confirm it? How can you mix it up, or how would you confuse this with regular shtaros? Regular shtaros, you always need two regular adim. Here, even a woman is believed. Hasam baldavar lo mehemen. The baldavar, in other words, the litigant. The question over there by the IOU or the bill of sale, when it's the two litigants are arguing, they are not believed. They're not witnesses. You need other witnesses who are not related to them. He had the baldavar himself is believed. In other words, if the woman herself would come and say, "I'm bringing this get," now why would she bring this get? Why, if she's already divorced? As we'll see, because the woman herself can be believed. In this case, let's say the husband says to her, "Here's your get. I'm not giving it to you yet. I want you to take it to the Beis Din in Yerushalayim, give it to them, and they will appoint a shliach and give it to you." Right? So she's the messenger saying, "B'fanei nechtam, b'fanei nechtam." That's okay too. If the husband gives it to her in New York or in Wichita and says, "You are divorced with this document," in front of him, she's divorced at that point. That's it. She shows up with her get. That's good enough. She's got a get in her hand. But let's say the husband says to her, "I'm giving you the get, but you're not divorced now. I want you to take it to the Beis Din in Haifa or Yerushalayim, and there give it to the Beis Din, and the Beis Din will appoint the shliach and give it to you. That's how I want it done." So she is the messenger from overseas, and she said, so over here, even a woman, she herself is believed is okay to do. So how can you confuse that with other shtaros? But Rabba, how will Rabba answer that? Rabba will say, Rabba Amilcha atuhacha ki dinan. Let's say in this case, if they didn't say b'fanei nechta b'fanei nechta, they just said, okay, they changed the words. They said, yeah, we know the signatures. The guy says, I know the signature. Mila, wouldn't he be believed? He didn't say nech b'fanei nechta. He just said, I know the signatures. They're okay. I saw it. Isn't that good enough? Keeping the chiyami yadinam, since they would believe, you would confuse it. If you would only say b'fanei nechtam or nan yadinam, we know the signature. I know the signatures. You'll confuse it with other stars, and you'll assume you'll think that other stars could also be confirmed with one aid. And here it's really only a kula by gitin. Because what's the clue? Because you already have the get, and and he's giving it to her, and there's two items signed on it, so we assume it's okay. Okay, so we understand why each one doesn't hold the other. Rabba didn't hold of Rabba because it could have just said b'fanei nechtam if you're talking about confirming the signatures. Rabba didn't hold of Abaye because Rabba didn't hold of Rabba rather. Why? Because if you're talking about lishma, I should have said lishma b'fanei nechtam lishma. Okay, so now we have this machlokas though. Ula Rabba. Now the Gemara says 2 lines from the bottom of Gimel Merav. Ula Rabba. His reasoning, we have a famous machlokas between, as we said before, between Rav Meir and Rav Elazar. Rav Meir holds that the signatures have to be lishma, not the get. The get could have been a boilerplate. The whole get. Reuben is divorcing Leah on May 19th. And whatever, on the dates and the cities and all that, the whole thing was boilerplated. It wasn't written for these two people. He just writes them all the time. Maybe fill in the date, whatever. We'll see. It's kosher
for another couple
with the same name, whatever. All you need is that the signatures have to be lishma. That's what Rav Meir says. As long as when they signed it, the boilerplate was there. The names, the dates, the cities, everything was there, except it wasn't signed. As long as it was signed for this couple, that's good enough. That's Rav Meir Shapiro. Rav Elazar says you don't even need signatures on the get. You don't need signatures. It's only in case the Adam are dead, so it makes it better. It makes it easier to locate them, and we can confirm their signatures. We don't really need it. The main thing is it has to be written lishma. Okay. So according to Rabba, though, it says there's a reason why I say b'fanei nechtam, b'fanei nechtam is because of lishma. So which one is it? Is it b'fanei nechtam or b'fanei nechtam? They both are. If it's lishma, they don't both have to be written lishma, right? It's either you hold like Rav Meir, who holds what, that the chatima has to be, the signature has to be lishma. He holds like Rav Blazer, the ksiv has to be lishma. Who holds that they both have to be written lishma? Because he's saying b'fanei nechtav lishma, b'fanei nechtam lishma. Who holds such a thing? If it's Rav Meir, chatima boy, he holds that the signature has to be lishma. Ksiv lo boy, ditzanan, we learn. There's a rule. Let's say, can you write a get on a tree? You have a tree stump over here. Oh, we don't have any paper. It's cut off nicely. Let's write the whole get here and sign it. And then we'll saw it off and give her the wood. Give her the. Can you do that? No. Why? Because it says because of a nasan. Misha and because of a nasan, you can't have something which needs to be written and signed and then detached and then giving it to her. It's no good. Rav Meir says. You can't write karka because you can't. It has to be able to be written and signed and given to her immediately. But let's say that you wrote it on the mechuber. You did that, lakaka. Then you cut it off, and then you signed it after it was detached. That's okay. Rav Meir says, and it's you shouldn't write it on there at all because you might come to sign it on there. If you sign it on there, everybody agrees it's no good because you wrote it and signed it and then cut it off. You did something in between. You can't have a necessary pu'ula between the completion of the get and giving it to her. Okay, so you shouldn't write it on there at all. But Rav Meir, if you writing doesn't count. Writing could be a boilerplate. There's no problem there. And then you cut it off, and then you signed it. That's okay because when it says when the pasuk is because it's going on the signatures. It has to be what has to be written lishma, the signatures. So if after you cut it off, you did the signatures and you gave it to her, it's kosher. That's Rav Meir Shapiro. Why? Because the ksiva doesn't count. Or according to Rav Blazer, ksiva. I said Rav Blazer. It says here Rav Blazer, right? It's Rav Blazer or Meir? No, it's Rav Blazer because we keep going with Rav Blazer. Rav Blazer says, Rav Blazer ksiva boy, sinless boy. You don't even need signatures at all. So who is the one who says, according to Rabbi, who says the reason because of Lishma? So why do you say the B'fanei Nechta, which means Lishma? B'fanei Nechta, who holds you need both of them? Maybe it's Rabbi Lazar. When does Rabbi Lazar say you don't need Chesim Lishma? Medaraisa is not. Medarabanan boy, but Medarabanan you need Chasim Lishma. So maybe it's Rabbi Lazar who holds that Medaraisa you need Ksiva Lishma. It has to be written Lishma. Medarabanan you need Chasim Lishma. No, it's not the case. Vashlosha Gittin, some famous case. There are 3 Gittin that are Pasal L'Chetchila. Psul Midarabanan, meaning Midarabanan, this isn't right. Below by Rav Lazar Chasima Lishma, even by a Drabanan, as we'll see now. Ditzanan. Gimel Gittin, so there are 3 Gittin that are Pasal L'Chetchila Midarabanan. The Rabbanan say don't give a get like that. The missus, but if she got married with it, Havlad Kosher. The children that she has afterwards are not Mamzerim, because Midaraisa it's really a good get. What are these 3 Gittin? There's no Adam, but he wrote it in his own handshrift, his own handschrift. He wrote it in his own handwriting. If he wrote it in his own hand, the husband wrote the get himself, it's good even without Adam. It's good even without Adam. Midaraisa. Midarabanan, the rabbi said that's possible. You shouldn't do it that way. But if you gave a get that way, it's kosher. She's divorced, and if she gets remarried, the children from the second marriage are not mamzerim. Yesh lo Adam and Mosman. Let's say there's Adam written up, but there's no time on it. We'll see later on. Why do you have a zman in the get? So that because when they got divorced, for who gets the assets, right? When let's say he's entitled to eat her fruit, the fruits of her trees, etc., of her fields, as long as they're married. So let's say he gives her a get because he says he's expecting a bumper crop, and then later on he says, "Oh, it was later. It was really given to you in December. It wasn't given to you in June." He wanted the crops first. So the rabbis made it takana because another reason is because in case she gets divorced, in case she commits adultery, and he has rachmanas on her, so he'll give her a get without a date, and she could always say that she was divorced before she committed the adultery, so it wasn't adultery. So that's rabbanan. So if there's Adam and there's no zman, it's not a good get. But in Meraisa, it's a good get. The Torah doesn't say you have to have zman and a get. Or yesh bo zman ben moleh. Let's say there's only one aid. There's only one aid. He didn't write it himself. There's one aid. You have the aid and the scribe, the sofer. So the aid together with the sofer counts as an aid too. Midaraisa, that's good enough. But the Rabbanan says pasal. Harei shlosha gittin sulam. They're pasal with Rabbanan lechachila, and this is a blood kosher. Rabbi Lazar Omer afal bishayin levadim ela shenaslach neim kosher. Even lechachila, you don't need those. You don't need that at all. All that counts is the Adam who you give it in front of. As we said, what makes kedushin? The two Adam. You give it to in front of Harei Makadesh's lead, the basu kedash mashal in front of two Adam. What makes a get? You gave it to in front of two Adam. Rabbi says you don't even need the Adam signed on it. All the counts up bishayin levadim ela kosher. And now in kosher, we're going to chasim mishabarim. You can collect from the chasim that are what they call encumbered, that are called they're mishubadim. They are what's the word mishubadim? I can't remember. I keep forgetting the word for. I have a good word for mishubadim, and I always forget what it is. A good word for that I have here is what? I have it here. Yeah, it's obligated. Just like you're obligated to somebody. These assets are obligated to the person. The point that Rashi says in a second shot, and more preferred shot, that we're not even talking about a get over here, because a get means a document. It could be an IOU or a bill of sale too. In other words, you don't even need Adam on any star. As long as there's Adam who saw it given over, that's all you need, and you can collect from the Chasim Mishabarim, meaning from that point on, without a Zman, without Adam on, as long as it's given in front of them, that's what counts. Others learn the first shot is that that she can collect. In other words, once he gives her a get, he's obligated to pay her ksuba, right? So let's say he had assets at the time he gave her the get, and later on he sold those assets or he lost them to somebody else. She's entitled to collect it from the time he gave her the get. That's the idea over here in the Chasim Mishabarim. Even though these assets are obligated, they're obligated to her at that point. She'ena Adam goes on in the Gemara, 5 lines from the bottom of Gimon base. She'ena Adam chos mal get make tikkun olam. Rashi says it's only tikkun olam, meaning maybe the Adam who were there at the time that it was handed over, maybe they'll die, and there's no Adam. Therefore, it's a nag lachtom. It's better to sign on it. In Yamusu, maybe other people will recognize their signatures. And obviously, according to Blazer, you don't need Adam signed on at all. It's only like a good idea. It's Eitzah Tova. It's a good idea to have Adam signed on it so that in case the Adam who were there at the time was given over, in case they die, maybe somebody else will recognize their signatures. You understand? The same Adam who signed on it are the same Adam who were there. And in case the Adam who were there at the time die, if they were the same Adam or other Adam, somebody else will recognize one signature, but you don't really need it at all. Others say that it's not just Eitzah Tova. Most say it's Eitzah Tova Kamashman, but some say no, that it's a good idea to have anyway, in case the halach is like Rav Meir. Because remember, according to we pass like Rav Lazar, Adam Asirka, all accounts really is the Adam were there when you gave it over. You don't need Adam signed on it at all. You don't need him signed at all. But it's better to have Adam signed on it, because according to Rav Meir, the Adam signed on it is what makes the get. Without Adam signed on it, it's not a get. When it says for Kasav has to be the Shema Adam. So to be Yotzer Rav Meir also, we have Adam signed on it. But the point over here is, when Rabbah said that in the reason is the reason is because of Lishma, the funny nech of Lishma, effectively, and funny nech of Lishma, who holds that? Rav Meir holds only the Chasima, the Chatima has to be written Lishma. According to Rav Lazar, only the Ksivas Moshe. You don't even need Adam on there. So it can't be signature. So who does our Mishnah go like? Bella, maybe you'll say Bella Meir, maybe it goes like a Meir. Chila boy Rav Meir Ksiva Lishma, Midaraisa. Maybe Midaraisa doesn't have to be written Lishma. Midarabanan boy, Midarabanan has to be written Lishma, even according to Meir. Rav Nachman says, Omar Meir used to say, you find a get in the garbage. Again, Reuben was going to divorce Leah. Reuben number one was going to divorce Leah number one. Decided, and he threw it in the garbage. And this guy comes along and finds the same get with the same names on it, the same cities, or whatever, or a different city, whatever. And he can use that too. It wasn't written Lishma, obviously. You found it in the garbage can. Now you signed it Lishma, right? It was written, but it wasn't signed. Now you signed it after you took it out of the garbage Lishma, V'nosma kosher. So what do you see over here? That it's okay. And how can you say Rav only requires Ksiva Lishma to rice and not Midrabana? Maybe you need Ksiva Lishma. You don't even need it here. Maybe that business about finding it in the garbage, Midraraisa, you don't need it. But Midrabana, you do. Rav Meir Devar Torah mi boilei. Rav Nachman should have said. Rav Meir said Torah, you could even take it out of the garbage, sign it, and give it to her. He didn't say Torah. It's mashma, even Rabbanan, it's okay. So you see, Rav Meir holds you don't need Ksiva Lishma. It doesn't have to be written Lishma, even Rabbanan. And according to Blazer, you don't even need Adam. So who can Amisha go like? Ella la'olam Rav Blazer. Really, so you know what? Amisha really goes like the Blazer. Bechila by Rav Blazer Chasima. Where does Rav Blazer say you don't need a Chasima? You don't need it signed. There's no Adam at all. That's okay. sometimes it's better not to have something than to have something which is suspect, right? Better not, if you have no Edom at all, that's fine. All you have is the Edom Asira, that's all that counts. You sign on it just, in case they're dead, it's better to have it. It's a good idea, right? But if there are Edom on it, boy, then you need them written Lishma. It has to be good. Rav Meir says you don't need Edom. Let's say you have Edom signed on it, and the Edom are the relatives of the Balidin, of the woman or the man. That's no good because it's Mizuyik Mitoko. It's forced. You can't have Edom, Pasala Edom on there. Better not to have Edom at all. If you don't have Edom at all, Rav says that's okay. But if you have Pasala Edom, that's no good. And if it's not written Lishma, that's also Pasal. So in other words, even though Rav says you don't need Edom, but if you have Edom on it, they better be kosher ones. That's the point. So our mission go like a blazer. That's one answer. A mission goes like a blazer that we pass like that. Edom is Sirikata. The main thing is the Edom are given over, and you really don't need Edom signed on it. It's only a good idea at all. And maybe in case Allah is like Rav Meir, we want to be sure like Rav Meir that we have them sign on it too, because Rav Meir holds without Edom written Lishma on the get, it's not a valid get. Everybody says that if a man says to a woman, "You're divorced. Here's $100. You're divorced." Is that a divorce? No, it's got to be a written get. According to Rav Meir, it has to have signatures written Lishma on there. We don't post. Even when we don't post like Rav Meir, like Rav Lazar, that the Edom is Sirikata. That's what cuts it off, right? But Rav Meir is also Modi. You have to give it in front of Edom. And Rav Lazar will also say that if you have Edom signed on it, they better be kosher. Rav Ashi has a different answer. Rav Ashi Amar Hamani Rav Yehuda. You wanted to know, according to Rabbah, who is the one who says you both need the Ksiva and the Chesima Lishma? Rav Meir holds it's only the Chesima. Rav Lazar holds only the Ksiva. There's another sheet to Rav Yehuda. The Tanakh Rav Yehuda posed Lachtek Ksivasav Chesimasav Talish. But in the case where you wrote it on a tree stump, the Ksiv has to be and the Chesima. In other words, you can't write it, then cut it off, then sign it and give it to her. It has to be cut off. The board or the wood that you cut off from the tree has to be detached first from the tree. Then you write it. Then you sign it. Right. So Meir holds, the Rabbi Yehuda holds that you have to have the ksiva and the chasima kosher, meaning lishma and after it's been cut off. So it maybe goes like Rabbi Yehuda, our Mishnah. So the Gemara says, if you have this Rav Shita of Rabbi Yehuda that you knew about, why were you trying to say, does it go like Rav Meir? Does it go like Rabbi Lazar? Maybe that's only Deraisa, not Rabbanan. So Mikara, my time alone with me like Rabbi Yehuda. Why didn't you say originally? You started to say maybe it goes like Rabbi Lazar, and he only holds you don't need it. You don't need the Eida Chasima, Medaraisa, Medarabbanan. You do. Maybe Rabbi Meir holds you don't need it. You don't need Ksiva Lishma, Medaraisa, Medarabbanan. You do. What are you looking for? All kind. You have a simple answer. Go like Rabbi Yehuda. Says Madrina, we go like Rav Meir, the Stam Mastis Rav Meir. Stam Mishnah goes like Rav Meir, so we try to set it up like Rav Meir. We'd rather say the Mishnah goes like Rav Meir according to Rabbah. Madrina Rav Lazar, then we try to say like Rav Lazar, the Kaimlan Hilchasik of Asa be Gittin. We have a cloud that when it comes to giving, we pass like Rav Lazar, like we do here, that Edom Masirikar. The main thing is the Edom, you give it over. There's no Edom signed on it. That's okay, according to Rav Lazar. And that's how we pass it. And you really don't need Edom signed on it. Better to have them signed on it in case you want to say Rechoshish for a Meir Shita, or like Rashi says, it's a good idea in case the Edom who were there at the time die and you want to confirm their signature, somebody else could confirm it. So that's how we come out. So now we've explained Rabbah and Rabbah. We've explained why Rabbah doesn't like Rabbah doesn't like Rabbah. And we've said, according to Rabbah, who does our Mishnah go like? The answer is our Mishnah go like Rabbi Yehuda, or it can go like Rabbi Lazar. And Rabbi Lazar says, when he says you don't need Edom, if there's no Edom, that's okay. But if you have Edom signed on it, and it is signed on it, usually you do sign on it, you better make sure that they are kosher and that it was written Lishma. All right, from here, we're up to Tanan Ramuli Alom, about 12 lines down. It's going to be on tomorrow's daf will be on the podcast. And this will take us all the way up. The podcast will take us, be careful, take a look on Hayam and Aleph on Sunday, which is Rosh Chodesh, also a short day. We're up to Tashma, about 20 lines down there. Tashma to Boimei Shmuel Meravuna. That's where we'll take you up to. In other words, now we're going to be discussing Rabbah and Kashas on, Rabbah says one way, B'kin Lishma. Rabbah says because of Edom Tzum L'Kaimo, who is correct, right? We're going to try to prove, is that machlokas dependent on another machlokas Tanam? Who is correct, Rabbah? The Gemara is going to come out in a few days that really Rabbah holds of Rabbah also. Rabbah holds of Lishma, but he also holds of the reason of Edom Tzum L'Kaimo. So we'll pick it up from Toshma on Hayam and Aleph, Mir Hashem, on Sunday morning on Rosh Chodesh. Shabbat Shalom, Chag Sameach.
Does the woman have to be able to read the book?
No, somebody could read it first. She could be illiterate. somebody can read it. The main thing is it has to be written Lishma, has to be everything proper, and if they give it to her, she could be illiterate. Most women were illiterate in the old days. Yeah.